Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to give you a warm welcome to our virtual event as BK Group PLC announces its reviewed IFRS-based Q4 and full year 2020 results. My name is Dalia, and I'll be your moderator for today. The year 2020 was a very challenging year, but we are pleased to report that BK Group continued to record growth across all its business lines. Due to the prevailing COVID-19 restrictions, we were not able to hold the press conference in person as we used to, but we are pleased to welcome all of you, media partners, who were able to join this call through technological means, and our appreciation goes to you all. It's my pleasure to welcome the bank CEO, Dr. Diane Karusisi, and CFO Nathalie Mhaka, who are on this call as they'll take us through last year's performance. I'm pleased to welcome my CEO, Dr. Diane Karusisi, for opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dalia. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our virtual event when we present our results for the year 2020. As Dalia said, by any measure, 2020 was a very challenging year. The COVID-19 pandemic has had an adverse impact on human lives, on families, but also on economies, businesses, including financial institutions like BK Group. For the first time in 2020, over 2 decades, the Rwandan economy contracted by 3.4% as a result of the lockdown and all associated health measures to curb the spread of the virus. But today, as BK Group, we are pleased to announce that the group has demonstrated tremendous financial and operational resilience during a period of intense stress. I'm happy that our years-long efforts to build and maintain strong liquidity and capital levels have enabled us to weather the current storm and even to support the economy and our clients in absorbing the shock of the pandemic. Also, our efforts in the past years to strategically position our business in the digital world has helped us to continue to serve our clients during the crisis. Operationally speaking, we were pleased with our level of readiness across all our business lines. We've seen during this period of instability, all our investments in our people, in processes, in technology have proved to be the right ones. My colleague, the CFO, Nathalie Mhaka, will share the details of our financial performance for the year 2020. But I want to share the main highlights that Nathalie will be sharing with you. The first one is growth amid crisis, mainly led by government-related business, like a massive school construction and renovation project led by government. That has been the key driver of the bank's growth. The second highlight that is important is very strict discipline in management of our operating costs that have reduced significantly by 11% year on year. And finally, as Nathalie will probably mention, is the significant increase in our loan loss provisions in line with the losses that we're expecting on our lending business and as required by the accounting standards. So I'll let Nathalie go through the details, and I look forward to an interactive session, although virtual, but I still hope we'll have an interesting discussion afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our earnings call. I'll dive in straight into the numbers, and I'm very happy that despite the challenges brought to us by COVID-19 pandemic, we are reporting a bottom line growth on our P&L. Our net income grew overall by 3% compared to the year 2019. Most of the growth was actually registered in the second half. When you see our numbers, the pandemic impacted mostly the first half year on year, and total operating revenue for the year were 129.6 billion Rwandan francs. In USD terms, this is over 140 million USD, a growth of 15.4% year on year, mostly driven by the loan book growth of our gross loan grew by 27.8% year on year, and our FX-related income also registered a strong growth of 22.5%, followed by our general insurance business, which reported an increase year on year on top line of above 30%. Our fees and commission struggled slightly in the first half. We managed to recover in the second half. However, full year fees and commissions dropped by 5.6%. You will recall that we froze all our fees during the lockdown in the second quarter of the year. We moved all traffic online. We're pushing more for online traffic as we had the lockdown imposed to manage the spread of COVID-19. On the provision side, our profit before provision, our profit grew by 34.6%. That, as Diane mentioned, a strong discipline on cost management. Although we stayed connected with our customers and our staff, mostly online, we managed to save some costs, such as marketing, travel-related costs, and the like. So some variable costs we managed to save. On the bottom line, we got significant hit on loan loss provisions. This is because of the IFRS 9 models. We had to increase our loan provision to comply with IFRS standard and the BNR reporting guidelines, and also to just be very prudent due to uncertainties around COVID-19 crisis. We saw our loan loss provision increase from 21.5 billion last year to 39.3 billion this year. We still managed to make some gains on recovery. These are assets that were previously written off. So we recovered 2.2 billion despite the lockdown and the adverse conditions that we had to deal with in the second half, which was a reduction year on year of 39.5%. Overall, we are very happy with the 3% growth registered. Tax increased by 26% as a normal computation at effective tax rate of about 31.7%. On the total asset side, our total asset grew by 28%, as Diane mentioned, mostly driven by the loan book growth, government-related projects to support schools around the pandemic and also other large infrastructure projects. But on the liability side also, we managed to retain a lot of liquidity from DFI. So we raised our deposit with financial institutions, our deposit to financial institutions grew by 141%. This is to support our liquidity level. And our customer deposit was actually very strong. And this, I'm very pleased to see, that was cutting across all the markets. So we saw the result from other banks. We saw strong growth on the customer deposit side. And ours grew by 23% year on year. And for the last quarter of the year, we grew by 2.3% to 790 billion. This is quite commending because we are looking at a situation where we thought the businesses are really underperforming, and we were really worried about liquidity going into the crisis. Of course, the additional liquidity has not come cheap. You are looking at a cost of fund increase. Our cost of fund increased by to 3.8% for the full year 2020 from 3.1% in FY19. We retained strong margins. When you look at our NIM, we managed to retain NIM at around 10.7%, and loan yield also decreased slightly from 16.2 to 15.7%. Overall, I'm very happy with the result because we managed to report the lowest ever cost-to-income ratio at 32.5%. We see lots of efficiency and culture change, which is encouraging to support lower level of cost-to-income ratio. Our investment at the moment is to move from cash cash economy to cashless transactions. So penetration of online banking and digital transaction is what we are pushing for. If I quickly touch on provisioning, we have cost of risk that increased to 4.5%, all-time high. However, this is a win-win situation when you look at the projection for FY21. We expect to stay very close to our customer again as they are starting to recover from the pandemic. We will see the reduction of this provision. So it's a win-win situation on the cost of fund, cost of risk, and also maintain efficiency on the cost to income ratio. Our coverage at the moment is 107%. This is how much we are providing compared to the loan, to the non-performing loans. This has increased from 105 in FY19. We still had a very prudent approach then, and we are monitoring closely our non-performing assets during 2021 to see that any release in provision goes straight into bottom line gain. Our subsidiary performance, most of our business is still from the bank. So we are over 95% reliant on banking business, although our general insurance, as I mentioned earlier, grew by 32% on bottom line year on year compared to FY19. Gross premium increased by 26% despite the lockdown and lower level of trading volume. On the BK Tech House, first time during a tough year, they reported profitable bottom line. So we've been investing in the past years, and in FY20, BK Tech House registered a small profit, and we are very pleased with that. On BK Capital side, that is our asset management arm, we also saw a growth of revenue of 57%, and asset under management also grew significantly by 32% as we launched Aguka funds. All our segment in terms of business segment were resilient, with corporate deposit all the way to retail deposit registering very good growth. So I'm very pleased to see that, and I have high hope that in 2021 we'll do much better. We retain market share across all our key metrics, and on the loan side, we expect to see slower growth on the SME and retail due to risk appetite and also the uncertainty still in the market. However, on the large corporate, our loan book grew significantly from 490 billion in 2019 to over 680 billion. I'll pause here for questioning, and we welcome any comment from the media. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now comes the time for question and answer session, and let's take the interactive session. And to our media partners, please note that we'll take 3 questions at once to be answered, and feel free to raise your hand or give your comment or question in the comment section. While waiting, we have some questions that were given before. We have a journalist from Kigali Today. He's called Simon Kamuzinzi. He has 5 questions. I'll start with, it's written in Kinyarwanda, I'll read them. Muratwereka uko beka yungutse muri rusange mu mwaka wose wa 2020 ndetse no mu gihembwe cya 4 by'umwihariko. Ikibazo cya kabiri, ese ni ibiki byakozwe kugira ngo iyi nyungu igerweho? Ikibazo cya gatatu, ese ni iyihe nkuru nziza ku bakiriya ba beka n'abafitemo imigabane? Twaba turekeye aho wenda kugira ngo manze musubize ibyo bibazo bitatu.
Barakoze Kigali Today kuri ibyo bibazo babajije. Icya mbere wenda navuga mu kwereka uko beka yungutse muri uyu mwaka ushize wa 2020. Ubundi muzi ko businesses nyinshi zagombye gufunga kubera icyorezo cya coronavirus, ariko banki zose mu Rwanda no ku isi hose twakomeje gukora ntabwo rwose twigeze turuhuka mu mwaka ushize. Akazi kacu rero ni ugutanga serivisi ku bakiriya bacu, gutanga inguzanyo, gutanga ubwishingizi n'izindi serivisi z'imari. Twakomeje kubikora kandi akenshi iyo dutanga inguzanyo abantu baratwishyura. Rero iyo tureba umwaka ushize hari inguzanyo twagiye dutanga nk'uko gahunda za leta nka gahunda yo kubaka amashuri menshi. Uzi ko amashuri arenga 2020 yubatswe umwaka ushize. Rero hari rwiyemezamirimo benshi babigizemo uruhare begeye banki kugira ngo babone amafaranga yo gukora icyo gikorwa. Ni ibyo ngibyo byatumye natwe tubona business tukatanga izo nguzanyo kandi abo bantu bishyura neza. Ariko nanone iyo business ikora yinjiza amafaranga hanyuma ikagira n'amafaranga ikoresha mu gutanga izo service zacu. Twashatse uburyo bushoboka kugira ngo tugabanye ayo mafaranga asohoka, amafaranga atangwa kugira ngo dutange service, ku buryo costs zacu zaragabanutse cyane, bituma niyo nyungu tuvuga uyu munsi tuyigeraho. Ariko nanone ntabwo nareka kuvuga ko iyo hari ibibazo mu bukungu bw'igihugu nk'uko tubizi, hari abantu benshi badashobora kwishyura. Iyo rero abantu batishyura banki, abantu bafashe inguzanyo batishyura banki igira igihombo. Ariko byose tubishyize hamwe, banki yashoboye kugira inyungu itari nk'iyo twari twiteze mbere y'iki cyorezo, kuko twari twiteze nk'uyu munsi kubabwira ko twungutse miliyari 50, ariko uyu munsi turababwira ko twungutse miliyari 38. Twizeye ko iki ni ikibazo cyabajijwe ko abashoramari bacu, abanyamigabane babona ko banki yabo bashoyemo imari ikomeye, ifite imbaraga, ifite ingufu, ko no muri iki gihe cya crisis twashoboye gukora, bakamenya ko n'ejo n'uyu mwaka n'imyaka izaza banki izashobora gukomeza gukora neza no gukora cyane, kugira ngo turebe ukuntu twese hamwe twazamura ubukungu bw'igihugu. So nibaza ko ibibazo bitatu byari byabajijwe nashoboye kubisobanura, ukuntu twakoreye inyungu, icyatumye tugera kuri iyo nyungu, n'inkuru abashoramari bacu, abanyamigabane, inkuru nziza babonye nuko banki yabo igikomeye, ntabwo yahombye, ahubwo yarungutse, kandi no mu myaka iri imbere izakomeza gutanga serivisi nziza kandi izakomeza kunguka. Urakoze.
Murakoze cyane MD. Simon Kamuzinzi wo muri Kigali Today akomeje abaza ati hagiye gukorwa iki kugira ngo beka irusheho kunguka abakiriya hamwe n'amafaranga. Ikibazo cyane basorejeho turavuga ati barasoza n'utwibutsa ibihembo banki ya Kigali yabonye muri uyu mwaka n'icyo bivuze ku bagana iyi banki.
So kugira ngo banki ikomeze yunguke menshi kurushaho, banki igomba gukomeza gukora, igakora neza, igakira abakiriya bayo neza, kandi ikareba n'ukuntu imanaginga ayo mafaranga yose asohoka, amafaranga ajya ku bintu bitandukanye kugira ngo dushoboye gutanga service. So nk'abakozi bo muri beka twese turi mobilized, twese tuzi ko iki gihe kidasanzwe, ko turi muri crisis idasanzwe, kandi ko tugomba gukora cyane. Aho umuntu yakoraga wenda amasaha 8, ubu ngubu akora amasaha 10, agashyiramo n'umwete mwinshi cyane, kuko tuzi ko abakiriya bacu badukeneye kurushaho. Ubundi abakiriya iyo bameze neza nta nubwo bakubaza ibintu byinshi, ariko muri iki gihe iyo bafite ibibazo, ibyo bibazo biza kuri banki bakatubaza, tukareba uko twabafasha. Nubwo ko abantu bacu bakora cyane muri iki gihe. So kugira ngo dukomeze dukore neza, turusheho no kunguka, tuzakomeza gushyira mu bakozi bacu ubumenyi, kuko turi muri service, tutanga service kandi service itangwa n'abantu. So tuzakomeza kubashyiramo ubumenyi kugira ngo bige, bamenye uko service imari zigenda zihinduka, ku buryo tuzakomeza kwita ku bakiriya bacu neza. Ikindi tuzakomeza gushoramo imari ni ikoranabuhanga, kuko tuzi ko muri iki gihe cya covid abantu benshi ntabwo bashobora kuza kuri banki kugira ngo bishyure cyangwa bafate amafaranga. Twese twabonye akamaro ko kugira telefone no kuyikoresha mu bikorwa bya buri munsi mu kwishyura. Tuzakomeza gushyiramo imbaraga nyinshi mu ikoranabuhanga kugira ngo serivisi zose beka itanga, ari yaba inguzanyo, yaba kwishyura, yaba kuzigama, byose turashaka kubishyira kuri telefone cyangwa kuri computer, ku buryo abantu batazakenera kuza muri banki, batazafata risk, kuko murumva ko umuntu uza kuri banki afata na risk yo kwandura kubera abantu benshi baca muri banki. So tuzakomeza gushyiramo imbaraga nyinshi mu bumenyi bw'abantu bacu, abakozi ba beka, no gushyiramo imbaraga nyinshi mu ikoranabuhanga. Yashoje abaza ikibazo ku bihembo twabonye. Mu minsi ishize twabonye igihembo cya banki ya mbere mu Rwanda, banki nziza mu Rwanda. Twarabyishimiye cyane nk'abantu bakora muri beka. Twibaza ko n'abakiriya bacu, ko nibo babivuga, n'abakiriya bacu babivuga, biduha n'imbaraga yo gukomeza gukora neza. Twabonye igihembo cya Global Finance Award cya Best Investment Bank mu Rwanda. Nacyo ni igihembo twakiriye neza, twishimiye. Ubundi tubona igihembo cyo ku buyobozi muri iki gihe cya crisis. Twabonye igihembo ko ubuyobozi bwa beka bwifashe neza muri ibihe by'icyorezo, kandi nabyo twabyakiriye neza. Biduha imbaraga gukomeza gukora abakiriya bacu neza no gukomeza gukorera abanyamigabane bacu, kuko nibo bene banki, kugira ngo bakomeze bunguke. Murakoze.
Thank you, Emily, for the response. We have Edwin Ashimwe from the New Times. Could you go ahead and ask your questions, please? Edwin Ashimwe.
Thank you, Daria. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, thank you, CEO, for your remarks. I have a few questions regarding projections for this year. While it is good to note that Beka Group noted or marked big profit, I would want to know the projections of this year, plans to support economic recovery amidst the pandemic uncertainties. What areas are likely to sustain growth in the financial services sector? And finally, given that telecom operators are increasingly losing interest in the market segment of banks, does this worry the banking sector?
Thank you for the questions. Maybe I'll start with the second one, plans to support economic recovery. Obviously, our capital levels, our liquidity levels put us in a very good position to support the economy. That means to continue lending to our clients, to support the creation of new businesses, new jobs. And there is in particular a program that was established by government. It is called, I think, Manufacture and Build to Recover. So this program comes with a number of incentives to businesses in the manufacturing sector, in the construction sector. And there are many construction sites. If you walk or ride through Kigali, there are so many construction, there's a lot of construction activity. And all these incentives are going to attract a lot of interest in these two sectors. And we expect also to get many of our clients, take advantage of these new incentives and invest to improve resilience. We've seen that it's time that as Rwandans, we build resilience. We manufacture as much as we can. So we reduce the deficit of our trade balance. We've seen, in the past year with the issues and constraints around logistics, that it's important that us Rwandans or businesses in Rwanda start investing in some key sectors of the economy. And we see this as opportunity for us, for the bank. So we believe this year, the pandemic is still with us. We are not yet over. But we believe the signs we see, even in terms of the numbers of new cases published on a daily basis by the Ministry of Health, we see improvement. The vaccine program is quite efficient. I think in the region, we're probably the most efficient. And we are hoping that progressively towards the end of the year, we'll see a lot of economic activity improving in Rwanda. And this comes with business opportunities for us. So in terms of numbers, we've been prudent because we believe we probably will not be in a position to release the bulk of the provisions, loan loss provisions we took for 2020. But we hope that we'll have a growth of about 10% of our profit after tax. And we hope that we'll be progressively releasing as, of course, the economy recovers and many of the businesses that are struggling today start recovering. We hope that we'll recover to the peak of our performance levels next year in 2022, where we'll get back to a return on equity of 20% and above. So there was another question around the telecoms footprint in financial services. That's true. Most people now use their mobile wallets to pay for goods and services. This has actually been a blessing also for us because the cost of cash is actually very high for us banks. And all these transactions are enabled by banks because MTN or Airtel, they have to place these funds somewhere, typically in a bank. And this also has driven the growth of our deposits. So we see partnerships, but we still think that as banks, our role is to support investment, which is something that telcos cannot yet do. And we believe that our lending business and the diversification we've been going through, we have general insurance, we do advisory, capital markets. We want to go into more business lines in financial services. We believe this strategy will continue to position us as a financial services provider of choice. And we believe that in the years to come, we'll keep seeing healthy growth, but also in line with the growth of our economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MD. I'll go to a question that was given by Nahaya Emmanuel from IGIHE. This first question says, what are the strategies that brought bigger profits in the middle of the pandemic? The second one, will the profit translate into the increase of dividend to shareholders of BK?
So thank you, IGIHE, for these questions. The first one, as we explained, I think Nathalie also talked about this in detail, was to continue offering services. We know very well that many businesses have had to stop providing services. We can talk about public transport that have been severely impacted, hotels. But as for us, banks, we have continued to work because we are essential services. So we've continued to work. And when we work, of course, we provide services and we get paid for the services we offer. But something that has been very critical in the past year was to manage our costs with a lot of discipline. So we reduced significantly our costs, marketing costs, probably, IGIHE has seen that. We've not been spending on marketing. On staff costs, we had frozen recruitment in the past year. So we really wanted to make sure our costs remain managed to a very low level so we can offer our shareholders some level, a decent profit. And this is, I think, what we've managed to do. What was the second question, Dalia?
Will the profits translate into the increase of dividends to shareholders of Bank of Kigali?
So that's an interesting question. But as you've seen across the world, many banks are not declaring any dividend for this year because we believe there's still a lot of uncertainty. We don't know when this crisis will end. So it's prudent from us to keep preserving this liquidity inside the bank and this capital inside the bank, so we're able to support further the economy in this recovery period. So for now, I think it's the first year in a long time. The board will not be proposing a dividend declaration to shareholders because we want to remain prudent and to be sure we keep strong levels of liquidity and capital. We've seen across the world in other countries, they've seen third, fourth waves of this pandemic. So we are hoping that for us, things are well managed, but the uncertainty is still there and we want to remain prudent. That's why we will not be declaring any dividend for this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, we have a last question from the IGIHE. Last question says, what are you planning to do to refrain the impacts of non-performing loans?
So thank you. Indeed, you've seen in our numbers that our NPL ratio has increased significantly, mainly driven by some sectors that have struggled, like hotels, public transport, trade. All these sectors have struggled significantly. And I think in conjunction with government efforts, there are ways to support these businesses to recover from the crisis. There is this economic recovery fund for hotels. We've been able to refinance a good portion of their loans at a much lower rate. But again, we stand ready to support our clients, to provide more facilities, when and as possible to help them recover from the crisis. But generally, with economic activity rebounding towards the second half of the year and even next year, we'll see, I think, people recovering slowly, and we'll be there to accompany them into the recovery. So that's what I can say. I think it's not only BK. Of course, we'll be listening to our clients and understanding what we can do better and how we can support them. But there are, nationwide efforts that are led by government to support economic recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. We also have Julius Isimu. He has a question. Julius, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I actually had a question on NPLs, but I think the CEO has answered the question. I was just interested to know what kind of risk does that pose to your general performance, the fact that the NPLs continue to increase. And I think historically, when we look at the previous crisis, where they talk about the 2008 financial crisis, that has made the NPLs pile up in many banks across the world. I'm just interested to know whether this is the same trend we are likely to see, especially because of COVID-19 and not knowing the certainty around when this pandemic is going to recede. And then maybe lastly, if the CEO would be able to share what are the next moves for the bank? Are we likely to see the bank making more, investment in other sectors, be it expanding their expansion beyond just banking, insurance, and technology? Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe I'll let Nathalie speak also, but in general, NPL means costs for the bank. If a client is not able to pay us back, then we have to take hefty provisions, and you've seen that our provisions have increased by more than 80% year on year, which is unprecedented, and this is a cost to us. So obviously, as this ratio of NPLs improves, then we'll be able to release progressively these provisions that will write back and will go directly to the bottom line and increase the profitability of the bank. So this is what I can say about NPL, but Nathalie will complement. About next moves for the bank, we've continued our expansion. We are now eyeing still life insurance business. We believe it would be very complementary to the services that we're already offering. We are in discussions with stakeholders at the board level as well, if we should go greenfield, meaning like we did for the general insurance business, start a company from scratch, or looking at the market. So this is something that we hope we'll be able to give more news towards the end of the year. And I think that's the plan for this year. Now, next year, I think technology has proven to be a solution to many problems, and the post-COVID world is going to be enabled even more by technology. So we are looking at a number of investments in our technology business, because we believe it will not only support the growth of the other subsidiaries, but also provide much needed services to the economy. So I'll let Nathalie say something around NPLs and the impact on the general performance of the bank. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Julius, for the question. On the NPLs, I'll say that I'm particularly pleased to see that it has increased, and the provisions have also been quite aggressive. However, this is more of a prudent approach. When you look at most banks' returns that were published yesterday and today, you'd see that NPL ratio are managed below 5%. So as at 6.7, after taking an aggressive look in hotels, sectors, transport, and so forth, because they struggled in last year. I'm of the view that FY21 will be much better, because we will release this provision as the economy starts to recover. So we are looking at various sectors that have struggled. However, it is the sectors that is concentrated around hotels and transport. And with the Economic Recovery Fund that is available to them, we see a slow growth, however, a realization of this asset quality turning better. One thing that I would say that is particularly good is when you look at the growth in deposit for retail and SME. On the press release, you note very strong growth despite the crisis. So asset quality can only improve from my point of view as we go into the second half of 2021. On digitization, also we see opportunity, because we continue to invest in our large project to bank more of the retail and SME. Returning this deposit means we will tailor-made product to offer them smaller loans on the phones, and some consumer loan that will not need collateral, and that will be very good for our asset quality as we grow.
Thank you, Nathalie. We also have a question from Solitaire from Bloomberg. He wants to know, has the group already secured the credit line from development finance institutions? How far have you gone with the discussions, and which institution did you pick, and how much is the credit?
Do you want to take that?
Thank you, Sol. You saw our DFI deposit grew by over 100%. This is mostly from the likes of EIB, the Mauritius Commercial Bank, Bank of Africa, various partners that are able to support us with liquidity during this fast growth on large infrastructure projects. So we saw an increase of over 100%, and we expect to stabilize into the current year, looking at the customer deposit and also demand slowing down on the asset side, especially for the loans. So we look at liquidity above 60% and just manage this DFI lending on the lower end going forward, because this has been quite, it put a lot of pressure on our cost of funds, and we are not looking at increasing it above 4%. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathalie. Do we have any more contribution questions? I can see we have Tumukunde from Imvahonsha. I think she's typing the question, or do you want to go ahead? Okay, yeah. She says, mwatubwira umwihariko wa beka mu korohereza abakiriya babo muri iki gihe cya COVID-19, by'umwihariko ku bijyanye n'abafitemo inguzanyo.
Murakoze. Icyo kibazo Imvaho yabajije, murabizi ko Kigali yakuyeho ikiguzi cyo kwenda kohereza amafaranga nakoresheje ikoranabuhanga kugira ngo abakiriya bashobore kwihutisha no kumenya gukoresha ikoranabuhanga. Ikindi abakiriya batuganaga badusaba kutanga grace period, ni ukuvuga ko mu gihe kimwe ntibishyure ibyo bagomba kwishyura, nabyo twarabibafashijemo. Abenshi tugitangira icyorezo kigitangira mu kwezi kwa gatatu umwaka ushize, twari dufite mu bakiriya bacu bose abantu barenga 40% baje batugana batubwira ngo tuborohereze, tubahe amezi 3 se cyangwa amezi 6 batishyura, ku buryo bazakomeza kwishyura ibintu bimeze neza, lockdown yarangiye. Twarabikoze, ariko ubu ngubu abo ngabo 40% bamaze kugabanuka cyane, kuko abenshi basubiye muri business, bakomeje gucuruza. Abo bantu bakifite iyo facility yo kutishyura inguzanyo zabo mu gihe cy'ubu ngubu bagera gusa kuri 14%, bigaragaza ko hari abantu benshi bagize ibibazo umwaka ushize, ariko bagiye bakomeza gukora mu buryo bashoboye gukomeza kwishyura inguzanyo yabo. So bigaragara ko ubukungu bwacu bugenda buhoro buhoro, ariko bigaragara ko iki cyorezo kigana ku musozo. Twizeye ko n'izi nkingo zimaze kuza ku bwinshi n'ukuntu leta yacu yabyifashemo, twizeye ko wenda mu gice cya kabiri cy'uyu mwaka tuzavuga ko wenda iki cyorezo twagitsinze, hanyuma tugasubira mu muvuduko w'ubukungu bwacu nk'uko twari tumeze mbere y'iki cyorezo. Murakoze.
Thank you very much, MD. We want to know from the journalist, if there's no other questions, feel free to raise your hand to write your question in the comment section. I guess it was all clear. Thank you very much. We would like to get closing remarks from the MD.
Thank you, Dali, and thank you, everyone, for your time. All this information will remain available on our website, and I'm sure our social media team has also been sharing this information. And obviously, we remain available if you need any clarification. We are hopeful that 2021 is going to be a better year. We see already signs of economic recovery, and we are hopeful that we'll be meeting shortly in the next couple of weeks, presenting results for the first quarter and showing that as the economy recovers, the bank will also be going back progressively to its best performance that was seen in the previous years. So I thank you very much again for your time and attention, and I wish you a very good afternoon and evening. Thank you.